10:01 a.m. Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. Why is the date important? Why is this little hair on my chin reflecting the light? The date represents something that might be notable. And what is notable is the will to release the voice of the heart in those intervals from which our intuition prompts us while listening to the voice of logic that acknowledges a need for a certain comprehensive discipline of meditation, stillness. But in the West, where we are paying our bills, working hard, there is a shift where it's not about spending so much time doing those so-called spiritual things, because in the end, our simple presence, our simple, just by our very being present with others, emits a vibration and frequency that may be hard to detect because of the density of consciousness and vibration and relationships. The resistance are those of us who acknowledge a fundamental shift is needed within ourselves to detach from having to change anyone. And still being willing to allow the vibration of the new world to express itself. And the world might say, well, what do you think that world is based on? The will to express in any given moment the need for a new movement that brings the classes and the fields closer together in terms of leadership and the average person. And this is a movement that can begin and has already been preparing itself on some level, but the sproutling is not necessarily above the surface. But in today's world, the vision is more enhanced than the previous day. And this happens day after day after day until cycles coalesce and the results are manifested. There is there's a certain sound vibration in the background, but inside the front center of our predicaments, there is a need for an underground railroad. That is now not about one race, it's about the whole race. And when I say when it's not about just one race, like the protection of what might be considered another group of people, but in the end they are one, as we are one, as all is one. Energy, as Einstein, E equals mc squared, described all matter essentially is energy, and we know now energy that is waves. And these waves is what make up one part of an infinite part of laws and realities that stretches ever more expansive, unless the majority do choose the repeat history button, which free will allows us to learn through the absolute madness, especially when it's happening to us. Things can look so beautiful. A circle of life, of rehabilitation, is not practical in this time where people can barely even manage their internal and their external with a lot of modern work. And a lot of modern work is geared towards the male imbalance of the square refusing the circle. And the world might say, what's a square and what's a circle? And it's not that the feminine has an imbalance as well. But anyways, I speak this into the collective. It is time for there to be a greater expression to go within.
Get ready to relax with
as we choose, we will automatically be impulsed to go without. So the world might say, oh, this doesn't require any effort. There's a certain way to balance on a rope, and I may not have done it in this lifetime, but figuratively speaking, you keep getting back on, becoming more close with life all around you, that the two trees and the rope represent the tension of holding on to two separate objects, seemingly separate objects, with the rope within the center of your being, so to speak, connected to these two different, seemingly opposite, but working together to uphold this somewhat barely stable foundation that moves with gravity amongst your slightest reaction to a perfect balance, not just through muscle testing, but through possibly something more. And this is what might not seem like a message the world would like to hear. But those who are in the cities, in an ideal picture, can help formulate the ideal blueprint for the development of world conditions. And people might say, what about the farmers, the fishers, those who are rural, who are more small? Should they not have an ability to reach the same heights where they are without having to travel using technology? And the answer is correct. But at the same time, our situation reflects the city's unwillingness to consider what actually keeps it alive. And that is the rhythm of the heart. The rhythm of a force of evolutionary humanity. That isn't just about getting through the day and satisfying the customer and having a good time with your people around you, you commingle with coworkers or whatever. There's a lot of legal torture and abuse and absolute tragedy that does happen every day. The allowance of exploitation has many forms. Simply not having the right to have a say, a voice, in how the entity expresses itself, oftentimes for the interest of a small group of people that just want more. And a lot of people are coming to realize the follies and in some way start moving, start making decisions, thinking in different ways, even though there are still a lot of fanatical seeds that have been grown in some form, where people think the solution is to use violence, in whatever word we characterize it. And I can understand why people say eat the rich, but at the same time, that propagates another cycle. Mass radical nonviolence is in the ideal form, but sometimes it's not taken, and then a second initiative needs to be put in place. With the same respect to another initiative about
It's been used to ejaculate prematurely until this.
This is a frequency station. If anyone is still listening, it's 14 minutes and 23 seconds in. And I would like to broadcast past perceptions of reality so we can see the future potentials that support the evolutionary reality that the present may feel very difficult to be with oneself, to not constantly engage with others in a plan that often most people don't want to engage with or seriously interact with, even though they might disguise themselves as at first, which is fine. Sometimes we've done that before. But in essence of our oneness, we can radiate a frequency as if it's going into certain directions, octaves, that isn't just the physical. And I would like to send this radio signal to those in our local and international stage for a movement of detachment from always having to identify with this world and fight in such a way where you see the other as separate. And you might say, of what? From what? Separate from what? That this other is a separate being. And you're like, oh, this is impractical. There's no policies, there's no definable, clear actions, strategies that you're giving us. We have to do something. And yes, we do. It's important to do something. You don't have to. We all have free will, and there's many who have not chosen to do anything. And it's understandable, and they take certain measures. But the essence here in this radio station impulse that I signal, I call for a way of dynamic training for representatives who understand the poisons of institutional history, ideological history, and the child who understand the basic simple being of a child. Simple words, for certain souls need in some way a simple way of defining the complexity of the lies, but yet free will, and how certain beings don't want us to think we really have it. So the Underground Railroad resistance has an advertisement from Dream Clinic on this music called Digital Prophets. I radiate the impulse of a movement that stresses for psychological, spiritual, integrated with a new science. And this will take modern psychology in the same discussion tables with a unified religion. Impossible, we're going to stop there, in a unified science that says our system is not the ultimate system and each of ours has a truth. But yet we've noticed through history that there's been great tragedy. And yet, deep in the archives, in the records, the threads of the human history that's been put down, there lies an immortal, eternal gold that shapes our integration with the mysteries and the innovations of what creates equal distribution of wealth, resources, stories, medicines, experiences, space for shelter, health, nutrition, counseling that is based on a spiritual science, not just a material science, science, where we are considered in having possible many lifetimes, and it's already been echoed in through sentiments of possibly 1,000 or maybe more. Some of us might not even be here. And what would it mean for the government and the healthcare system and the educational system and the military to consider that these things? What would it mean? Why does graffiti happen? Why is there crime? Why are there so many statues and what do they call it? There's another word. Or the need of a permit in order to set up a little shop in a town area where you're not blocking traffic. Seriously blocking traffic. Like sometimes musicians that play. Some places allow you to set up anywhere, but does a nation truly set up people to create something? Even if it's just basic, simple? But simple and basic is not what's necessarily going to get us through the next levels. And there's an easy way and there's a hard way. Sometimes I take the hard way. But I am speaking into a collective radio frequency for anyone who is tuning in to consider. A way in which we can use whatever ideas that come to us as a platform for radiating wherever we are in different moments of our day into the collective frequency. Knowing that there are other ideas that we can tune into by considering the basic needs of the mind, body, and soul. All are very equally important. They're all spiritual, but they're all part of the body of our true being, which is beyond being and is becoming. Making a conscious effort to make choices along with various degrees of a circle that is rotating within itself through different layers. It is practical for people to apply to get a job in order to get their basic needs. But it's also very practically ideal for people to do something, whether it's the job that they would like the world to give to them, or finding someone to give them something. But it often seems that the former, the first thing I said, is something that just only works for a very small amount of people who sometimes get into this unique niche field. But anyways, I am going to cut the radio frequency, and I will continue broadcasting on different levels. We can actually develop telepathic rapport but at the same time there is a need for nature, meditation, and realizing all the situations that we go through have a certain nature and meditation within itself. The yin and the yang. And how can we meditate in these times? Some people use certain music. Muse, entity, intelligence, being, consciousness. Art, music, science, technology. Not good to have plastic in the sun. But why is it not good? We're not going into this. Alright. I said I was going to cut the frequency. Did I get you? Did I fool you? Well, fool me once. Fool me twice. Fool on you.